Longtime fan Spike Lee did not show up, says he will not, to another game this season because of his dispute with the owner, James Dolan, and MSG Security. Now, as we got Stephen A. and Max here, and their first take coming up here in 8 minutes, and Jalen as well, along with Spike Lee's seat being empty last night, there was a report that a group of fans were escorted from their seats by security for yelling, "Sell the team." The Knicks say that didn't happen. Is it time for the league to do something about this situation, Steve? Max.
Well, I would say that Adam Silver should look for an excuse to force Dolan to own the team. He's a disaster. Not only
sell
to sell the team. He owns the team. It's like terrible thing for Dolan. Here's $5 billion, right? But they're a laughing stock. They're the longest running number one comedy, like since Seinfeld, right? Like and the hits just keep on coming. Dolan pumps out this material, but they're horrible for basketball. Because the interest in the NBA generally, in the largest market in the country, by far 20 million person market, is completely suppressed. I would say in the meantime, everyone root for the Nets if you live in New York City. There's never been an alternative before. He had a captive audience because if they were in Jersey, they're in Brooklyn now. Not only are they in Brooklyn, they won 40-plus games last year, and they added KD and Kyrie going forward. Root for the Nets.
I'm going to be a little controversial here, in all seriousness, because we all know how disgusted I am with the New York Knicks, the moribund franchise that they have been under the stewardship of James Dolan for decades now. It's disgusting. The second worst winning percentage, 38.8%. We all know this. When you brought up what happened with Spike Lee, and I'm not saying that these players knowingly were involved or anything like that. Did you see all those black players, former players and what have you, those black stars that were conveniently on camera last night? In the aftermath of this, a day after Spike Lee comes on national television, it strikes me as a tad bit odd. Now, obviously, there are stars that show up to Madison Square Garden all the time. But I have never seen us or anybody else parade on TV a slew of black celebrities in the immediate aftermath of this Spike Lee. That strikes me as a tad bit odd and a bit
coincidental.
Coincidental, to say the least. Now, obviously, I haven't spoken to these people. I don't know them. I don't know if they were aware or whatever the case, but it harkens me back to when people like myself were on the airwaves in New York City calling for a boycott of the New York Knicks. And then Dolan hired Phil Jackson. Right then. You understand? This wasn't after the season was over or whatever. It was in the spring. Before the season had ended, it was announced that Phil Jackson was coming on board as the president of basketball operations to take the heat off. Now your number one fan, a guy that's more representative of the Knicks brand than anybody in the last several decades, okay? Now, the day after all of that happens, we see on TV all of these black celebrities that are in attendance. I wonder why.
I'm upset and I'm disgusted by this entire New York Knicks scenario led by James Dolan. As somebody that played a long time in the league, I actually played for the Knicks. Being a member of the Pacers, going back and forth with their team, and seeing how Spike Lee is the ultimate ambassador for the NBA. The ultimate ambassador. From somebody that grew up in New York, that has been a fan, that worked his way from having season tickets that were nosebleeds all the way down to the floor. That man deserves respect. It just so happened that the Knicks are so very lucky to have him as a fan and spending his money, putting them in movies, patronizing their business for almost 30 years. You mean to tell me if you're going to treat that guy that way, that should send a message to anybody else that wants to spend their time and their dime patronizing their brand.
Spent millions of dollars. Millions of dollars. Like, they should be paying him to show up. He spent millions of dollars. His first movie ever, She's Gotta Have It. He had Mars Blackman. Remember, that's where that character comes from. I want to say this was like 1984. We're going back over 35 years. He's there arguing with another character that Bernard King is better than Larry Bird. Like, he's been upping the Knicks and giving them cultural relevance now for almost 4 decades. You think that he was insisting on using a certain elevator just to be a pain in the butt? What?
But also, here's another thing. For all people that can hear my voice, sometimes your critics are right. And that includes you, James Dolan. He's behaving like a tyrant, just like the Houston Astros. Y'all got caught cheating. Y'all can't take away people's signs at the game. You can't tell people not to yell, sell the team. People can say what they want to say, right?
All right, absolutely. I have to let you guys go. I would love to do this for another 2 hours, but they have 2 hours worth of TV to do. So Max and Stephen A., 3 minutes from right now, will be across the hall. First Take starts in just a moment. I will join you guys over there. Thank you. And this is
awfully
obviously a conversation to continue. Meanwhile, we're going to finish up by talking about Steph Curry, who is coming back tonight against the Raptors after missing more than 4 months while recovering from a broken left hand. The two-time MVP tweeted his excitement after rejoining Golden State after missing the team's previous 58 games, saying, quote, about time. And I have to tell you, RJ and I talked about this on SportsCenter this morning before Get Up even started. People were tweeting, I saw it, all over the place. Well, why would you bring him back now? Why bother? The season is hopelessly lost. I don't want to sort of prejudice the answer by saying what I think. What do you think?
Because our society now has been conditioned to believe that you don't actually have to show up to work every day. There's 82 games on the NBA schedule. If he's healthy and he's able to go, they're still going to get a lottery pick, possibly Wiseman, as a matter of fact. I say put him out there, let him run 10 or 15 games and salvage something.
And honestly, you don't want to just not play basketball for a year. These guys love playing basketball. Now, if you're talking about 82 games, yeah, he might need a break here or there. But if he only had a left hand injury, that means his legs are fine. That means he's in good condition. He's in shape. Let him go play. The fans deserve it. He wants to give it. He's going to be one of those guys that at the end of his career is going to be looking at all-time records. Got to play.
They've got a brand new arena. They got shareholders that they need to entertain. He's part of the entertainment. Number two is basketball players want to play. Steve Kerr was a player. All right. He understands it. You know what? He misses part of him. Part of him is going out and playing. You know what? It makes a statement. Look, if they were having a bad season, would he play the last 15 games of the season? Sure, he would be playing. So if he's healthy, they're not going to put him out there unless he's healthy. If he's healthy, basketball players go out and they ball. That's what they do.
Well, and the one last thing is I talked to Kevin Durant last night on the broadcast with the Nets.
Drop.
And, yeah, 100%, right? And he basically said he misses the routine. Guys miss the routine. They miss the camaraderie, the travel. That's something that guys crave.
How good can the Warriors be next year?
They're going to be one of the top 4 teams in the Western Conference. As soon as they get the Splash Brothers back and they're going to add a lottery pick, Draymond Green is going to elevate his game now that they're back in uniform. And they have great management. They do a terrific job of building around those guys. And the other thing about Steph Curry is they're partners in with the NBA, like ABC. As I'm flying to California tonight to go do Countdown from LA on Saturday, I'll be at their game on Saturday. And so I'm happy that he's playing. Make sure you check us out.
I'll just say this quickly. I know I was the one who asked it, but I'm offended by the question. He's playing because he's a basketball player and there's a game on the schedule.
Right.
When did that stop happening? We'll see you tomorrow. First Take
notable
starts now.
Zion Williamson in the house. His first matchup ever against Luka Doncic, 2 of the top box office must-see stars in the NBA.
Young fella, do your thing. Man.
Oh, yes, great quaff.
That's what he usually leads with. And then there's Zion, who clearly struggled in his first ever back-to-backs. Jalen, you could tell the conditioning was a question.
Conditioning definitely is a question. Here's a guy that's 6'8", over 280 pounds. He's played in less than 20 NBA games, didn't have a full training camp. Yes, he's going to have fatigue at this point of the season.
He told his teammates he'd wake up in the second half, though, and that he did. A little bully ball, RJ.
Yeah, look, we could talk about conditioning, but look, he was able to dig a little bit deeper here. And like Jalen says, his conditioning will improve. You have to understand this is December for him.
Mark Cuban can't believe what he's seeing. Meanwhile, he'll love this. Under a minute to go. Good game. Seth, where are you going to go for a bucket if you're the Mavs and you're down by 1? How about Seth Curry in the corner?
How about the no-look pass by Luka and knowing that Seth Curry, an elite shooter, is sitting there spotting up with corner spacing.
And then New Orleans. Now they're down 3, 10 seconds to go, and Jalen, they get the big 3 from Nicolo Melli.
There was a big-time out-of-bounds play. Normally you don't get this, especially on the same side, and he was able to square up and knock it down.
So to overtime we go. Zion didn't start the overtime. He would finish it, however, and you'll see him in the lane here. He would finish with 21 points, 6 boards, 3 assists. That one would tie it at 118, but at the end, it was too much Luka.
So for Zion Williamson, it's about bully ball, layups and dunks. For Luka Doncic, it's about skill. Dribble, pass, shooting, and dropping it off to Porzingis.
How about a 30-point triple-double for Luka in the showdown with Zion? And in overtime, the Mavericks take a
Physically,
big one.
I'm feeling fine right now. I think it was just one of those things where, Drew, Lonzo just kind of came to me and was like, are you ready to play?